In a church of conscious living. I want to welcome those who are on Zoom. And just to let you know what the service is going to be today. It came to me that we needed to hear from folks in our community and our board as to why science of mind for them. So that's how this idea got started. And fortunately, we have folks that stepped up and folks that said, thank you so much, great for the offer, and no thanks. And that's great. So I want to just let you know that, here's going to be our schedule today. Deb Jacobson is going to be our first speaker after Charles does the opening prayer. And then Kathy Patrick is going to speak, bless her heart. I don't know how long you've been a member of HCCL, but I know it's 10 years. All right. And then we have Sharon Shell, who's been a board member, past board member, bless her heart. She said yes. Woohoo. And then our own Mitzi Grover. And we actually, Mary was going to speak, but Mary's off to Alaska. How dare she? Oh no, she's having a good rainy time. And then I'm going to close it out, and we will have an offering, and Charles is going to do the closing prayer. And so that's the agenda. So please welcome Reverend Dr. Charles Geddes, who I attended the symphony with last night, and wow, it was really fun. So I'm so grateful you're all here. Reverend Charles.
Good morning. And needless to say, the reality of science of mind is a way of life. And it is practicing the presence of that inner light, that inner power that connects all of us to the stardust that we came from. So let's take just a moment in remembrance of that together as we enter into the realization of, the remembrance of, that we all came from that stardust. And we came here with all the realities of the galaxies that exist. We came here to be on planet Earth. And so we are evolving consciousness of that presence of whatever we call God. We are here charged with evolving that presence. And that's the might of all the great mystics and teachers that have ever been. They've been here to remind us this is our charge, that we leave this planet better, richer than when we came, that we contribute to the evolution of future generations through how we speak, how we treat, how we love ourselves and one another. This is the heart of the teaching of all that have ever come to remind us we are all one, and so it is. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, I have the extreme joy and added pleasure to introduce the president of the board of directors of the Helena Center of Conscious Living, Deb Jacobson.
That's what happens when you're sleep deprived, which he is, Koski and Rosie. And how many of you went to the symphony last night? A few sleep deprived people. And Rosie, I need it like, is that better? Yeah. You know, it's just is so unnatural for me to feel like I'm eating the microphone. So when Rosie asked me to do this, my first response was no. Thank you for asking, because I don't do much to put me in a vulnerability. And I thought, well, gee, Deb, let's giddy up here. So I'm up here not only to talk about my background, but to be vulnerable so I can deal with that later on. So I have always been, as far as I can remember, a spiritual seeker. I went to the Mormon church, God forbid. I went to the synagogue. These were with friends, and nothing really ever as settled until I became an Episcopalian. And that was a fascinating experience. I was going to be a nun. And if you can imagine, yeah, some of you can. No. I mean, there are too many things missing for me to be a nun. So I just stayed Episcopalian basically through high school. And I went to camp, I went to work on a cathedral in Mexico. I was just really into being an Episcopalian. And when people would say, well, what is that? I said, it's everything but the Pope. So, that was the extent of my understanding of Episcopalian. My boyfriend in high school was also an Episcopalian. We met at camp, and his parents went to this strange church called the Valley of the Sun Science of Mind Church. And this was back in 1967. And my boyfriend said, they invited him and he invited me, and everybody was expecting some big, wonderful romance to blossom. Well, he left for the Mormon church and I stayed at Science of Mind. So I've been involved in the teachings, in the classes, in whatever, everything that I could find since 1967. And as I was looking here, and I think it's not like since before you were born. It's not that long, but it's pretty long, 1967. So I'm sorry, you're telling us to get it there, okay. So in Science of Mind, what I found that drew me to it was the absence of dogma. You don't have to do this, you don't have to cross yourself, you don't have to come on days of obligation. It also gave me many opportunities and challenges to grow. There were, hi, come in. There were many different classes and such wonderful people that were not bent on nailing you if you did something that they didn't think was correct. There was lots of exposure to different philosophies. Yeah. Got it. So all of it, all of the Science of Mind stuff that I found important was also within the framework of Ernest Holmes. And so there was a foundation that was reliable, but what's a dogma? You wouldn't get sent to hell if you didn't do what Ernest said. So for me, it's not a matter of believing in science of mind. That's not really a true descriptor of believing in science of mind. Okay, you're going to get tired of doing that, Rosie. So here today, I speak, I listen, I hear, and it's better said about me that science of mind believes in me. And I couldn't be more grateful. So thank you. That's my 8 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Kathy, and I really appreciate Deb going before me. It brought up things that are present, but I hadn't thought about. My journey here, I was a seeker. I can remember being about this high, and the nuns came to stay for summer school. We were out of town about 20 miles, and here these habited women came and stayed in mom and dad's bedroom, and I was fascinated. And I know I was about that high because their door had a real low handle, and so I was down there looking through that little peephole to see what I could find out about him. And that lasted about 20 years, I think. And of course, I wanted to have kids. I mean, if I wasn't playing church, I was carrying around a baby. And then I decided that I probably needed to get married, that I was 21, and if not now, when? And so I did that. I often think of my life as kind of that Yiddish tale of Yankel, you know, and he gets a horse and he's so excited he got a new horse. And they said, oh, yeah, good. And he says, no, but my son rode it and he broke his leg. Oh, no, he broke his leg. Yeah, but then that's when the conscriptors came to the village and took all the healthy men away, you know. So it's just kind of up and down. And I decided finally that that's just life and that's what to expect. And I think I was first introduced to Science of Mind at the library when they had the magazine pickups. You could take your magazines there and somebody could pick them up if they wanted to read them. And I got a year's worth of the Science of Mind magazine. And so I just found out the month that we were in and started to read for a year. And I was pretty sure that this is what I needed. I really appreciated the positiveness. That's what first drew me. It felt uplifting, and I needed that. I was in a place that I needed to crawl back out of. So I came to a service, and I can't remember whether it was in the middle of this year of reading or anyway, and I came in with a stomach ache, and I'd had this stomach ache for quite a while. And Reverend Jean was there, and she prayed for us, and my stomach ache went away. And I thought, well, I've got to stay here. I've got to learn how to pray like that. And I think when I first came, the classes were all full, so I had to wait a little bit before I could get into it. What I use most in my life today is gratitude, I think. I learned that when I express gratitude, another tenet of, I'll call it a tenet, change your thinking, change your life. And that comes to my mind a lot. And gratitude is just a door opener for me. It can change my attitude right away. I think the hardest part of my journey right now is to stay in the consciousness that Reverend Charles talked about, to talk about rabbit holes. I keep working on it, and I've worked on it for a lot of years, and I guess this is just how it's going to be. It isn't a quick fix for me, but my favorite place to practice it is in nature. And when I get to a place in nature, it used to be my back porch when I lived out on the Colorado Gulch, and I put my chair just in the right place, and I don't know what it was, but I was instantly there. I was calm. It was enjoyable, and I could just sit and enjoy that feeling. So now I'm kind of learning how to take those parts of that experience and use it every day. And I was I don't know, for some reason, washing the dishes is just, I just get anxious when I wash the dishes. I don't know why. But anyway, last night when I was washing my dishes, I thought about a memory from when I was preschool. It was Christmas time, and I had gotten a set of dishes and a little wash set so I could wash my dishes, you know. And I was so happy. It just filled me with pleasure. And I thought, well, thank you. At least now I can bring that pleasureful memory of washing dishes into my mind and my heart. And what a gift. I don't know. I'm sure I haven't used up 8 minutes, but is it okay if I quit? I can make up stuff, Rosie. I can make up stuff. Oh, I can do a dance. Yes, I love to dance. Just as a side, this has nothing to do with Science of the Mind, but I had a birthday when I was in college in Bozeman, and there was a table there, and somebody put on a really good music. I don't know what it was. And then anyway, they said, "Oh, dance, Kathy." And I said, "I will." And I slapped the top of that table and jumped up. I had to move a few beer bottles, but jumped up and started to dance, and all 4 legs went out. Just, yeah. I haven't done that recently. I hope that even if you're not up here, you can take the time to identify those things that brought you and the things that keep you here. That's it. 3. Sharon's 3. You're 3.
I have to use notes or I'll forget half of what I'm saying. I'm Sharon. And I was literally indoctrinated into science of mind by okay, I'll start again. I was literally indoctrinated into science of mind by a voice that spoke to me from above. And this is my story. It was the early 80s, that's 1980s. And I was living in Los Angeles, working as a location manager for Universal and Burbank Studios. Can you hear me? I was living in an old but beautiful building, apartment building built in 1930 with a bunch of other writers and producers and would-be actresses. They were all working part-time and trying to work full-time. And one of the actresses was named Annie, and she lived right above me. And she kept playing these audio tapes. That's what we called them in the 80s. I don't even think there was CDs yet. So she kept playing these audio tapes, and a male deep voice kept saying things to me that came right through the ceiling in my apartment, because it was built in the apartment was built in the 80s and it wasn't built that well, I guess. So I heard voices from above for the 2 years that I lived in that apartment. And it would be a deep male voice saying things like, "Thoughts are things," and then explaining that. You can manifest what you want, just anything you can conceive of, you can manifest, and they would go into it. When they got to the part about even parking places you could manifest, I was very excited because it was Los Angeles and there was no parking downtown anywhere, and I practiced and practiced that, and I could do it almost 95% of the time. So I kind of really was attached to that voice from the ceiling for the parking spots. There was other things they said. You can see it when you believe it, if you believe it. There is only one God, and that God is within all of us. I picked up those things. And of course, I listened to them off and on for 2 years. So I didn't always focus, but I think they were coming in subliminally. Anyway, when I asked her about the tapes, she explained that they were Science of Mind tapes from the Church of Religious Science, not the Christian Science Church or any of that, which I believed at first. At the time, I was a member of and on the board of Hope Lutheran Church in Hollywood. It was on Melrose Avenue. I was born and raised a Lutheran, a practicing Lutheran all my life. I never thought of being anything but a Lutheran. All my relatives were Lutheran. I didn't even think at that point that Science of Mind was really a church. I just thought it was a belief system that she was listening to. So Annie's tapes still got to me, and I just kept thinking about them, and she referred me, I asked her, she referred me to a new church that had just opened up in Santa Monica, and it was called the Agape. And Michael Beckworth was the minister. And they were meeting in a small hotel meeting room that was probably as big as this room. Sorry. Okay. So in this hotel meeting room were probably 150 people. The church had not been going that long. And that's about the number that they had in this meeting room that was rented in this hotel. And just as an aside, the Agape, by the time I left, I think to move here, was a church of 5,000 people, and had bought their own warehouse in an industrial park and turned it into a church, and had 2 or 3 sessions every Sunday to go to. And it was growing, and I think it even went up to 700 or 7,000. So, but I started with the 150 people that started out in the church. I still had my foot in Hope Lutheran. I was still racing back and forth. I actually only had a toe in the Agape, but I would, thank heavens it was Sunday, because I could race from Hollywood all the way to Santa Monica with hardly any traffic. And I would get from one church to the other, and racing around and believing both of them. I mean, the Science of Mind never conflicted with most of what I had been raised with as a Lutheran. I balanced them both. My race between the two churches started, or kind of came to fruition, when I was dating. I met my late husband, Sandy. I was on the board of Hope Lutheran. He was on the board of the Jewish Temple in Beverly Hills. We had what appeared to be a conflict. He visited my church. I visited his temple. It didn't work very well. Until I suggested that maybe he would appreciate the Agape. And I took him to Santa Monica to the Agape, and he really loved it. He didn't think that there was too many things that were against his Jewish religion either, or he thought that it incorporated the Jewish religion. He felt at home, and I did too. We had found a meeting ground to base a relationship and later a marriage on. But we found that racing to Santa Monica was kind of a struggle when there was a church about 6 blocks away from us in Burbank. We lived close to Burbank at that point in North Hollywood. So in that church, a lot of events took place. We were married. in that church. And Marlene, our favorite female minister, which was unusual to me to have a female minister in the Lutheran church. And of course, it was for Sandy in the temple as well. So we had a female minister. And not only were we married there, but 10 years later when he died, she gave the funeral service for him. And so we were in that church for 10 years. We were in the church until we moved and Sandy died. After Sandy died, I decided to semi-retire and move to a smaller town. I looked all over California because I wasn't going to go to a town that didn't have a Science of Mind church. And I looked all over and came to visit my brother here in Helena and found HCCL. And that was in the year 1999, and I joined the church in 2000. So I guess I've been a member for 23 years. I think I'm the longest, continuous member. I still believe in all the things I heard coming down the ceiling from those Science of Mind tapes, which was almost 40 years ago. I can still remember thoughts are things. You can manifest what you dream. And I may have added this, or maybe Ernest Holmes said it, but I always hung on to the statement, treat and move your feet. Now, I know treat is part of the Science of Mind. I'm not sure move your feet is. It is? Okay, good, great. So today I'm focusing on that part, the moving my feet. The treat seems to come around pretty easily, figuring out what I want to do. At my age, the focusing and the moving my feet isn't quite as easy, but that's what I'm working on. And HCCL and Science of Mind has helped me get to where I am today, and I feel really so thankful for it. And what do they see on TV? That's my brief, spectacular take.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Mitzi, and I get to be number 4. So, for everybody here, I'm actually made in Montana, right here in Helena. And my first experience was attending the Catholic school right next to the cathedral. The grade school actually got tore down a few years ago. But my first traumatic experience, first grade, little bitty kid, walking in, and here are the sisters of Charity of Leavenworth. Very strict, black habit, long rulers to nail you if you got caught talking. And I have a few scabs for that purpose. But my first day of school, I showed up and my name was Mitzi Jones. And this very strict nun decided, without my permission, to start calling me Mary Margaret. I didn't answer. I was in tears, went home, and my grandmother, who was pretty forceful, decided to pay a visit to sister and convinced her to let me stay as Mitzi. Thank heavens, my middle name is Francis. So that gave me a pass because there's some pretty famous Francis. I decided I like the Francis of Assisi. But that allowed me to stay in the school. And being raised a Catholic with the nuns, I know some of you are here or there, but believe me, we prayed every day. We knew that God loved us. And every night, I made my prayer saying, thank you, God, that I was born Catholic. Because I knew then I was saved. I was baptized. I got rid of original sin. And I did not have to go to purgatory. And so believe me, I'm very, very grateful. I'm thinking if I lead my life really, really good, I'm going to get to go up to heaven and I'm going to get to stay away from hell, because they were pretty vivid on what hell looked like. What I found interesting was I could invite my non-Catholic friends to church. And I will admit, going to the cathedral, which I absolutely love with all the stained glass, the priests were very boring. They quoted Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and then they always gave a speech about collecting money. So my friends didn't stay at my church very often. But what we were told is that if I visited their church, I was not allowed to participate or sing their song. They gave us that guilt factor of do not participate. And that didn't feel good to me at that time. So guilt, to me, was the main control of the Catholic Church. And people that have talked to me know that probably my biggest pet peeve was, as a little kid, I got stuck with dry fish sticks every Friday. And the nuns actually described, get this, that was supposed to be a mortal sin. Give me a break. But they had it in your mind what was going to happen to you if you even had a cheeseburger on Friday. So I would go to some friend's house, non-Catholic. Here's Friday. The mother's serving awesome cheeseburgers, and I have to say, ooh, I'm sorry, I'm Catholic, and I can't eat that. So I get to sit in a corner with a tuna sandwich while everybody else gets to have their cheeseburger. Well, my biggest pet peeve was in the 60s, I'll be darned if the church decided that no longer is that a mortal sin, you're not going to burn in hell. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding. So I'm not to say that I'm getting even, but on Fridays, I do love my cheeseburgers. And I'm not too crazy about fish sticks. The other thing that I had a real problem with the church was they were adamant against birth control and divorce. So, as fate would have it, and here I am a pretty good believer into my 20s. I love the camaraderie, the companionship of the church. I bought into their beliefs. And I did the unforgivable, got a divorce. Okay, this is the deal. You would think that a loving God and the priests that are there to be administered, to help you out in a really sorrowful time, would be there for you. But oh no, if you even thought of getting married again, you would be excommunicated. You were not allowed to go to communion, and literally, you weren't allowed. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding. So at that point, it was a really low part in my life, because this was my church. This was my safe haven. These were my friends. I went to school with all these little Catholic kids, and I was on my own. I'm like, whoa, what happened? So luckily, in the 90s, it took me that long. I quit going to church, but in the 90s, I came into Hay House. Louise Hay, Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, Greg Braden, and the group. And I absolutely loved their message. And I listened to them, and I actually have gotten to see all of them in person. But I was still, back in Helena, I was still yearning for a safe place of like-minded people. And we all believe there are no accidents. So in about 2003, which would be 20 years ago, I happened to open up the Independent Record. And there was the article of Helena Church of Conscious Living. It had a picture of Reverend Levine, who was the recent minister at the time, talking about the new thought, the fact that, whoa, it was convenient, 11 o'clock. I love 11 o'clock. I'm not too crazy about the 8 and 9 o'clock services. So I decided to attend, and when I showed up, I'm like, oh my gosh, I knew half the people, and the other half became really good friends. I really, really welcomed the New Thought idea and the fact that everybody in the community, we all believe the same belief. What I think the biggest thing, as we say, it's inclusive. Nobody thinks they're better than the other. We're all one, that global feeling, and the message of we're spiritual beings having a human experience really resonated with me. All of the teachings I absolutely love, and I would say that after Reverend Jean, or excuse me, Revelin left, the board got together and we had several other ministers. And then we were lucky, very lucky. The calling came to Reverend Jean. She showed up from California, reunited a whole bunch of us. And at that point, what I really loved about her teachings was that she not only went into Ernest Holmes' teachings, but she gave us a glimpse of all the other religions out there. I liked that 1 month we did Buddhism and Sikhism and whatever. It was just, I think it was very eye-opening. I had no idea about the very first churches and then how it kind of incorporated into the New Thought. Then we were fortunate enough to get Reverend Charles. He got a calling to come all the way from Florida to live in Montana and share his beautiful, beautiful thoughts. And I think we're very, very fortunate. And the fact that they continue to make sure that we're all included, there's no guilt involved, and we're all welcome. And I agree that it does take a village to help raise us all. And many of us are all seniors. And we've all had that, I would say, dark night of the soul. We've gone through a lot of experiences. And I think what religious science and especially HCCL means to me is that it's family. It provides a safe place. We can talk about like-minded things and everybody agrees and actually adds on to it. We can have mind treatments if we want. And as members of HCCL, as Rosie loves to say, we are a force for good, and we will continue to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitzi. Wow. Pretty good stuff, eh? Ah. Okay, so my story. Rosie Donahoe moved here in 1984. A gal by the name of Catherine Brandon. I don't know if any of you know her. Catherine was a nurse from World War II, and she would attend HCCL. And she dragged me with her a few times. And honestly, I've been a seeker, I would say, all my life. I mean, I've studied Yogananda and Hayes and Deepak. I mean, just dabbling in all of those things and raised Episcopalian. And what I saw in the Episcopalian church was that there was a lot of judgment, and there was not what I could hang my hat on. And listening to you all just done a great job and addressed these important things that happen in our life. Well, Catherine brought me to this, and here I was, and everybody got in a circle with their hands in a big circle, and I was like, whoa, that's too much for me. I'm out of here. And so I traveled. I've done a lot of things. Came back from Guatemala and Texas, and just really felt like I needed a spiritual connection. And I was moved to come back here. And I walked through the doors, and guess who's speaking? The beloved Reverend Jean Sweet. And I tell you, what she said to all of us made total sense. It just was like, oh my God, here's a community that actually will embrace me, a lesbian, and somebody that doesn't really has been looking for community. How do you find community if you're not straight in this world? I want to tell you, it's getting tougher. Just saying. So the the beauty of it was, oh my God, so God dwells within us, not up there judging us, but it's within us. And the work is knowing what it is that you want, being clear about it, and taking action on it. Well, I think I can do that. Now, it's been a long journey, and I tell you, I'm so grateful because I came to church today and I wore some shoes that really hurt my feet, so I get to be barefoot. And I love that. And I love that when we do a service, I can go in the back of the room and dance like a crazy woman and nobody's, look at her, man. Well, that's not right. That's bad stuff. So it has been, I mean, I don't think I have the words of how profoundly this has impacted me. And all of you who show up and watching Catherine, I mean, you guys think about it. I've known Catherine since I was in, I'll tell you, I came to, just a side story, came to hccl a few times, and Sue Dostal, who was having to leave the board, invited me out for lunch. I thought, oh, how nice. I'm going out. And guess what she wanted me to do? Join the board. I've been on the board ever since. What's up with that? I had no idea. But I've watched Catherine grow as a science of mind practitioner. But look at what she did a couple of weeks ago. I mean, look at what she did, guys. It's incredible. And so watching her grow and watching the light in you guys and Dave coming and teaching science or Course in Miracles, and Joanna coming to hear her mother speak today. But actually, I just want to put a plug in for you because you guys, there are angels out there. Everybody believe that? Yes? Okay, well, I listened very carefully to what you said. I followed the rules. And I said, angels, I need help. And by golly, wonderful things are happening. So, Joanna, I think you should come and speak again. I think that'd be a great gift. And so I'm deeply grateful. We're going to do donations now. There's so much more I want to say, but if I start to say it, I'll cry. And you guys don't need that. And I don't need it either because today I wore makeup. And I never wear makeup. So we're going to keep it very clear. While we're doing donations, there's a song that Reverend Jean used to play, and Reverend Charles likes it too. It's Michael Gott. Amazing. And as this song plays, I want you to just listen to the whole song. Listen to it, take it in. We're not going to do anything. Reverend Charles is going to bless the offering and then have a closeout, and then we get to celebrate Alan's and Sarah's birthday, which is happening tomorrow. Thank you, Reverend Jean, for the gift of organic gluten-free carrot cake. You guys on Zoom, aren't you sorry you're not here? Okay, so can we have the song, Dominic? Thank you all.
Hello again. I'm back for announcements. So to let you know, next week, Reverend Jean will be the speaker. And on the last Sunday of July will be Reverend Charles. Please put on your calendar, August 6th is Tizer Garden. And we all absolutely love it. So what we're asking is that everybody go ahead, bring either a salad or dessert, and the HCCL will provide the plates, napkins, and the silverware. And bring your own drink. The Angel Fund their deadline is August 4th, and in the newsletter gives you a place to learn how to donate. Let's see. Okay, before I get to the birthdays, family promise. Let me have Catherine come up, tell us how we're doing and what else you do need, because that's coming up very closely.
Okay, I need one dinner or donations, and we can buy a dinner, and I need a Tuesday overnight. So I am going to the SOAR conference, which is a big religious science conference, which is going to be in Asilomar this year. So I will be leaving early Wednesday morning. So Karen Nelson, who had been the Family Promise coordinator for many years, has agreed to take that over this next rotation, which is the day after our Kaiser Garden, the Monday and Tuesday after that. So we're pretty well set up, but if we need a meal and we need one person for the overnight on Tuesday. So thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. And we also want to thank David for being so generous with his time to help us out with Course in Miracles. And for anybody who'd still like to join us, we meet at Tuesday from 1 to 2:30 in our Inspiration Hall. And Reverend Charles, do you have anything to add about Big Sky or whatever? And then before the benediction, okay, before I let you have the microphone and keep it, just reminding everybody that we have the birthday people for tomorrow, Alan and Sarah, and there's cake in the next room, so don't leave too soon. Okay, Reverend Charles, it's yours.
I want to do one thing before we close, and that is the reality that incredible song that Michael Gott shared, "You will do amazing things." I want you to all put your hand on your heart, and I want you to recognize you have done amazing things. So I want you all to share as potently and deeply as you can the reflections of your journey in life that everyone so eloquently shared this morning, and for you to take in and acknowledge yourselves. And let's say together, I have done amazing things. Again, I have done amazing things. I have done amazing things. You get it? Yes, you have. And you're continuing to do. And the only thing I have to say that the early registration for Big Sky has passed. However, you can still attend. It is an amazing thing. It is an incredible experience of 47 years that are the most profound reality of my life. I've been a part of it from its conception. It's the oldest metaphysical seminar event ongoing in the world ever. And Mind Your Own Becoming on Thursday nights. That's my soul work, in addition to sharing my heart with all of you. But Thursday nights, just go to the website. It's available with the monthly letter that Jean and her sister put out, and we're so grateful. So I want to acknowledge, so we're going to do a closure and honoring the birthday celebrations that we have. And I know that carrot cake, dear Jean, has been created out of grace. It is so magnificent. So let's take a moment right now and just simply to recognize that we live and move and have our being in grace, that we are created out of that ethereal, infinite, undefinable essence that in the beginning, the only thing that was it. And we are birthed out of it. Every living thing, every blade of grass, every grade of sand, all throughout the galaxies, beyond our understanding, and yet always the core behind it was the evolution of consciousness, of love, of purpose, of everything coming together to recall and to remember. We are all born out of oneness, not divisiveness, not separation, oneness. And more than ever, this world that we are here on now is thirsting to hear, to feel, to live from that oneness. So every word, every step, every action, everything you do is contributing to the evolution of consciousness on Earth to evolve to be truly a planet where the predominant reality is heaven, meaning the expansion of consciousness itself, that we all remember, and every living thing is some part of that originating cause, love. And so it is. All right. Golly! Love you all. Take care.